Why do they despise me so? I created them. Do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created here on earth? Stop looking at me like that. I'm no loon. Welcome to the Sunday Movie Marathon. Are we all doing...
Was that Spy Kids 2?
Yeah. Pivotal movie.
Fascinating.
One of the greats.
Yeah. From
Who's that
everyone's
we can
favourite
hear?
director, Robert Rodriguez.
You what?
Oh god, yeah. We got a special guest.
Yeah, we are joined by my girlfriend Darcie.
Hello. You caught me drinking a sip of tea.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. Our
Yeah.
third guest of the podcast. What a privilege indeed.
Yeah, it's really weird recording in the same room as someone again.
Yeah, I bet. Good. Well, what we got this week? We got a lot of sad movies to talk about. We didn't plan it, but that's how it's turned out. Just a theme of sadness and depression.
You two picked your films. I did not.
What do you mean you didn't pick it?
I generated them.
Yeah, she went through her watch list on Letterboxd, and I said what films were on streaming services and stuff, and she just picked it on the wheel at random.
Oh, really? I thought it was one that you desperately wanted to talk about or something. It's it meant a lot to you. It really could have been anything then. But thank God it was that movie because it's well, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
First, we got some other movies to talk about.
Yeah, it's a very interesting selection this week. Two of the films are really deep art films that I feel like we could talk about for hours. Then the last one's a documentary that I don't think we have a lot to say about.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Do you want to kick it off then, Chris?
Yes, so let's start off with my film, which is Synecdoche New York, written and directed by the great Charlie Kaufman. This was his directorial debut, and it stars Philip Seymour Hoffman, who plays a character called Caden, who the film basically chronicles his entire life, and he's constantly anxious. He thinks he's dying because he's got all these health problems, and it's basically a very anxious portrayal of his life as he gets closer and closer to death. And at the same time, he is creating this incredibly ambitious play, which is a complete recreation of a small town in New York where he lives, and it's just a mirror of his life. It's a very weird, deep movie, and I feel like there's a lot more to the plot than just that. It's kind of a hard film to talk about in a very small amount of time like that. But yeah, what did you guys think of this film?
I've seen it a couple of times. I love it. I really love it. I kind of wanted to hear about what Darcie thought of it. I don't know if you've watched it before.
No, I haven't.
No.
I've never been more confused by a
how was
movie.
the experience?
I didn't understand most of it. I was really tired, and this film was going on, and I thought, this film is really, really good, but I don't understand what's going on. So for the most part, I got Chris to look at some videos explaining it, and it didn't really help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I showed her a few explained videos because I thought maybe that would clear up a little bit.
It wasn't even... It wasn't even the sense that, it was totally confusing, but it was more what am I meant to think about this film? If I think the same thing as someone else, maybe I got the film a bit more, but I didn't. I don't know. It's a film that has many layers to it, and quite beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good onion of a movie.
Yeah,
and I think whatever background you come from, or maybe you don't watch movies a lot, or maybe you watch movies loads. I think there's still a lot to get from this movie. I think Charlie Kaufman's really good at that. He's a fantastic writer, and I think, is this his directorial debut?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Holy shit. What a directorial debut.
That's what I said to Chris. I went, wow, for his first film, that's pretty bloody good, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God. It's it's so vast in terms of its scope in what it wants to communicate. Chris already described that it was about his entire life, and it's only 2 hours long, even just a little bit less than that, but it feels like maybe I was watching it for 5 hours or something. It feels so long, and it's not a detriment to the movie at all. If anything, it's I praise it for that. I was like half an hour into it, and I was like, Jesus Christ, how far are we into this? Is it like time spans like 5 years or something? Oh, I'm half an hour in. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So I think I just get a lot from like Charlie Kaufman's worries about like life and death. I think it gets me thinking a lot about like existentialism and just how we're kind of expected to move in a rhythm with like the modern quotidian. There's like a set of rules mapped out by like people on high, and we all die in the end, but in the meantime we're like supposed to like adhere to like the economic structure that kind of dictates society, and if you're not part of that, then you're living off wild berries or whatever, just away from society, removed from everything. And I think there's a lot of like the fear that comes with just living life. I think the main character portrayed fantastically by Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's such a fantastic actor.
Yeah, he's great.
Maybe his best performance, honestly. He portrays the character so well. He gets across like we talk about like adaptation maybe, and you see like Charlie Kaufman with Nick Cage portraying Charlie Kaufman in that movie, and it's like everything about him that he kind of hates about himself, and I get a lot from that in this, but it's not like a direct reflection of him. I think Caden Cotard stands as like a really fantastic character, separate from like the writer himself and the director. But yeah, I just I think it's a very epic like movie. It's an epic tale. And it's obviously it's not at its detriment. It's just when you get out of it, you feel like you've experienced this man's life, and I think that's it's a skillful thing to do as a director, to portray something like that in only a finite amount of time.
Yeah, because it's set over like 40, 50 years or something, and I've loved the way Charlie Kaufman plays with time throughout the film. But basically, the film just jumps around between time, like just randomly. Like it never like explains that a week has passed. But like, there's points, especially in the intro, where in that opening sequence, it feels like it's all set across one day, but it's set across months. Like there'll be a bit where he'll wake up, like his clock says like it's September, and then he's like sat downstairs like reading a newspaper, and you think, oh, it's the same day, and like he's listening to the radio and they say today is October 17th or something like that. He just jumps through time in a very subtle way. I feel like it almost like is a great way of like displaying how as you get older, life just gets really fast like that. Like you never really have a chance to stop and look around because it's just constantly moving so quickly. And I just love how time just randomly will skip between scenes.
Yeah. In the scenes themselves, you're like looking at a scene, and then like basically every single cut could be like a different, like months have gone by, but you still think you're looking at the same scene. And that's like a kind of it's a way to look at life that's just like the same thing on repeat, where it's like you can put these two things together and it feels like they're in the same scene, but months have gone by. There's like a part where like at the beginning where he's looking at like the newspaper, and he's the newspapers says like October 17th, and then he goes to get the milk out of the fridge, and he says, oh, the milk's gone off, and it says it's October 20th on the carton. And I don't like that specific moment. I feel maybe that could be like it was a time jump, or it reflects like Caden's like obsession with like expiration and death in a way. Like it's not really gone off if it's, you know, a couple of days before, but in his mind, like he's making up all these fantasies about like he's ill and when he's actually not ill, and like he's seeing stuff that isn't there, or like maybe when he actually is ill, he doesn't really care about it, you know?
Yeah, because like so much of the early part of the film is like him going to a doctor and getting like checked up because he like thinks he has all these problems, and he goes, I think I'm dying. And then like the one point where he's like goes to have a piss in his wife's sink and it's like brown. That's like the one time he just doesn't pay attention to it.
That was awful.
Yeah. Like he's scooping through shit at one point and it's like looks normal, but like his piss that's brown, he just doesn't
about
notice.
Skating through your own shit?
No, but I mean it looks normal. It doesn't look like there's any like abnormalities, no like blood or anything. But like the one time he actually has a proper medical issue, he just glosses over it.
Yeah. And he like goes to bed with his wife, and he's like, "Oh, I think I had blood in my stool." It's like, no, there was nothing there, man. You're fabricating all this.
Yeah, you can tell he's just a very anxious character. I think he's one of my favourite characters in any Charlie Kaufman film. There's just so much to him, but at the same time, he feels like kind of relatable in a way. Like, he feels like a very universal character that I feel like people will get something out of and connect to in some different way.
Yeah, I definitely do. You say he's like one of the best characters in a Charlie Kaufman movie. I would argue he's like one of the best characters I've ever seen portrayed in a movie or even a TV show. I think he's fantastic. And to have, like, even to compare it to TV, when you have hours and hours and hours to build up characters and he's still that good in like a 2-hour movie, it speaks to like the writing, it speaks to the direction, and it speaks to his performance as well. I think he's just, he's a fantastic actor, taken from us too soon. Sadly.
Yeah. Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman was one of my favourite actors, and I think this is definitely my favourite performance from him. He's just incredible in this film. The fact he didn't see any like award buzz or anything from this film is ridiculous.
Yeah. I love Olive as well, his daughter, who he loves very much. She was like in the car. He's like saying like, I don't want blood. I've got blood. I don't want blood. And he's like, oh. She's like, do I have blood? Or like, what's blood? Or like, he's like, Caden's trying to comfort her by saying that like he likens pipes in a house to like human anatomy, and it just makes her like more nervous. She's like screaming that she doesn't want blood.
Yeah.
And then like, was it Adele said, "Oh, it's okay, honey, you don't have blood." He's like, I don't think you should be telling her that she doesn't have blood. That's the thing about this movie as well. It's incredibly sad, but it's also like really funny at moments as well. I think he's very good at blending like humor in with like dour circumstances.
Yeah, I was saying to Darcie, it reminds me a little bit of Thunder Road and how it is portrayed, like how scenes can be like incredibly melancholic and depressing, but really funny at the same time.
Yeah, like Taika Waititi's good at doing that. With like Jojo Rabbit or I don't know, Boy or Hunt for the Wilder People. But Charlie Kaufman, he's got such a self-deprecating sense of humor. I see like his newest movie, I'm thinking of Ending Things, which is like, it's almost like a companion piece to this in a way, but it feels a lot smaller scale than this. This feels very huge.
His book Antkind is very, very similar to this film in a lot of ways. But I don't think the book is anywhere near as good as the film. Like, it touches upon a lot of the same themes. It's very, like, self-referential. Like, in that book, the main character's like a film critic, and he constantly talks about how Charlie Kaufman is, like, a super, like, egotistical piece of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the structure and the way it plays with time and stuff's very similar in that book as it is in this film.
I like the character of Hazel, of course. She's, like, kind of... Maybe the kind of life that Caden should have gotten himself into if he wasn't so like focused on like his play. He could have maybe made it with her. He could have had a life with her, but he doesn't go that way for whatever reason. Like, there's like a scene where like you're first introduced to her, and she's just like at the ticket booth for the play, and he's like trying to get a signal on his phone. She says, "The signal's good here," and it's like, yeah. Like, I understand what you're trying to convey there. But she was a fantastic character. She played really well. I don't know the actor's name.
Yeah, and it's really sad later on when they finally like agreed to actually like stop messing around and get together, and she dies in the next scene. That's a really sad moment. A lot of the film like, just seems to focus on Caden basically making the wrong decision in his life, and by the time he tries to correct it, it's just too late.
Yeah. He keeps making bad decisions. Or like, I don't know if you could say they were like bad decisions, but maybe like, I feel like he focuses too much on like one thing. Maybe he focuses too much on this play, and I think that he's trying to get it perfect, completely perfect. He's always saying like, oh, is this a good name for the play? Is this a good name for the play? I think I know how to do the play now. I think I've got a new name for the play. And it's like, it's all like just trying to get to like this perfect thing. And it's like, well, in life, like nothing is completely perfect. You work on a piece of art. You're always going to think back to it later and go, I could have done this differently. I could have done this differently. That's just life in a way. And if you try to strive for that, it can 100%. You're not really going to get there eventually, because like you could work a lifetime on it, but all you've really done is waste your life.
Yeah, Caden's a character who like just completely worries about everything to the point where I feel like it controls him and stops him from really living a proper life. Like his wife at the beginning of the film, Adele, is the complete opposite to him in every way, and in some ways is kind of like how he should live his life. Like she's a very like free and adventurous person. Like obviously Caden's constantly worrying about life and worrying about everything, and she's like very like carefree. Like even in that scene that you were talking about where their child's like worrying, like crying, she's like, I don't want blood. She Adele's like saying, you don't have blood. She's like trying to calm her down in this like calming way, whereas Caden's like expecting that if he explains it and breaks it down, like she'll be okay. That he doesn't know how to tackle things like that because he's like too worried about educating her, whereas Adele just wants her to be happy, and that's kind of just the character that she is. And even like later on as the film progresses, like you see as Caden's play that he's making gets more extravagant and huger, and there's more production value and stuff to it. Adele's paintings are the complete opposite. Like they get super, super small to the point where to see him you have to wear like a magnifying glass thing. I think there's a great parallel in there, and just how she's the complete opposite of him.
Makes you wonder why they got together in the first place.
Indeed it does.
I do like Olive as well. Sometimes you can have a problem with like child actors, but she was really good in the part. I feel like she played the part very well. She was like always wearing like green or something. She's like got a green coat. Olive for like the plant. Her poop is green. I think that was like a representation of like nature maybe, or like freedom that like surrounds that, and like Caden can't really access that, and like, he puts himself in like a box. And he gets her a box in the end as well. But he can't. He's like, she's been taken away from him, and like his freedom, he has restricted himself from that as well. Now he lives like in the city alone, creating like a play built in like the city that he lives in, and he can't really access the outside world.
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel like he's kind of a selfish character. He's kind of like very in his own head. They even like tell him, he's like, oh, you don't think about like when Sammy's like on the top of the roof, he's like, oh, you never thought about anyone but yourself, Caden, and all I did was follow you around for like 50 years or whatever. Maybe like if I kill myself, then you'll pay attention to me. It's like, you get like I don't think either him or Adele are very like good characters in a way. They're not like nice, I guess. Like he's just a very sad character when all is said and done.
Yeah. And then after he jumps like and he's like dead, like Caden goes over to him and like shouts at him and goes, "You're not supposed to die yet. This isn't how the play goes."
So I didn't jump. He's still making it about himself.
Yeah.
I never jumped. Still giving him notes.
There's loads throughout the film that I was picking up on, and it's a film that I feel like you need to watch like dozens of times to really get everything out of it, because it's a very abstract film in a lot of ways, but it's a very smart movie. Like in pretty much every single scene, there's a lot going on that you can break down. And I think that's just what makes it such a great movie.
Yeah. You got like the therapist character. She presents herself in quite a like together look. She's very beautiful. She's very like professional and dressed as well. She looks good, and like, but then like you go like below the surface or like under the skin. She's got like blistered feet. She doesn't really like show that within her. Or like she just seems like a very together person, but you see like underneath we're all kind of fractured a bit. We all have our flaws. But then like in comparison to like Caden, she's like the most together person in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
And she's always answering Caden before he finishes his sentences as well. And I feel like that sort of like indicates that maybe she knows what he's going to say, or like she's heard it all before from 100 other patients. And I just got the sense that like that was kind of indicating that maybe like we're not all that different. He's trying to be so like individual with his like playing. He's got his artistic vision and all that, but in the end, like we're all just people, you know. And no one's like better than anyone else, and no one's like worse than anyone else in like a basic kind of way. But he really wants to like try to stand out, and she's just like, no, you're not all that different to literally anyone else that I've talked to. I talked to this 4-year-old that wrote a book, and he was like a member of the Nazis or whatever, and then he killed himself. You're no different than him.
I love John Brian's score. It like adds this very melancholic and anxious tone to the film. I think he's an incredible composer. Like I love his scores to Eternal Sunshine and Punch Drunk Love, but I feel like this is possibly his best one. I've been listening to it a little bit the last couple of days, and I just really love the music.
Yeah, fantastic score. One of the best I've heard, honestly. It portrays like this melancholy feel that's kind of going throughout it, but then like sometimes it'll be like really happy, like in some kind of like weird like juxtaposing way. It's just like very like nice and peppy.
Yeah. Have you heard because Charlie Kaufman wrote lyrics to a lot of the songs. I don't think many, I think only one or two of them actually play in the film, but on the soundtrack album there's like a few different songs that have lyrics to them. And they're really depressing. Like,
of course they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie Kaufman like just encapsulates the feelings of the film, and the lyrics are basically just constantly telling the listener that you're worthless and that life means nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when they're at the bar, there's the woman singing the song. Is it Little Person? Just that those lyrics are quite like, I'm just a little person, one person in a sea. And it's like, you're just this fucking speck of a human being, like this vast. How could you possibly think you are that important to warrant like this huge play that you've constructed? You've created a world, and like you're just this one person. Like, who are you? But then, like that, I feel like I don't remember all the lyrics, obviously, but I feel like that was like also like a commentary on maybe like his and Caden and Hazel's relationship as well. How he kind of overlooks her as well, and she like really loves him. But then I guess he misses his shot.
It's also kind of brought back in the final scene, like when everyone's left the play, most of the people are dead. It's just like Caden or one other person just before he dies, and he's got that woman who's like taken over him in the play, who's directing him through an earpiece, and she's basically just telling him that it all meant nothing and that life is kind of meaningless and stuff like that. I feel like that kind of links in as well.
Yeah. Or maybe just like, I don't know if like the message of the movie is so dour, honestly. I don't feel like it's trying to go for something that's trying to make you feel upset. I don't think it's trying to like make you feel bad. I think it's trying to maybe make you think about these things, or like what you consider important in life, and is it really as important as you actually thought it was? Because in the end all we have is just like our relationship with people, and like, you know, work is work and all that, but like if you don't have like friends or you don't have family, then at the end you'll die bitter and lonely. And that's kind of what he's become. He's put himself into this place, sure, and he's given people roles to fill, but in the end that's all they are. They're just roles, and he neglected the people in his life that he should have helped, or he should have like confided in. He's lost his daughter, he's lost his wife, he's lost another daughter and another wife, and someone he should have fallen in love with, and he gets angry at her because she's moved on and he never could.
Yeah, definitely. It's a film that I feel like I would recommend to literally anyone, because there's a lot of important messages that I feel like everyone needs to hear, like about living your life, not over worrying about the sort of stuff that Caden did, not wasting the time we have because it's all like finite and stuff like that.
We see a lot of ourselves in art, I think, and like there's a lot to do with like expectations of people, or expectations of certain types of people. Like there's a thing where like he feels he might be transgender, or so he, and like the only solace he can really get, the only time he kind of actually feels happy is like when he's just like cleaning like apartments, or like when he's cleaning the art showroom. that's when he feels like he can have some sort of control over something and make that like clean and perfect, when he can't do that in his real life. He goes to like the Angelic Day Spa, which is like where Adele's apartment is. He goes like right to the top, and I feel like that's kind of an allegory for like heaven, and like when you're in heaven you don't really have to worry about anything. He just like stays there and cleans, and he can be like who he wants to be. Like the one of the residents there calls him Ellen, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'm Ellen. So he takes on like this role of Ellen, and when he's Ellen, like he's just a bit happier, I think.
Yeah, definitely. The whole ending sequence just really gets to me every single time. Like just him like sitting on the sofa with that extra from like one tiny like flashback scene, and he basically just says that I know how to do the play now, and dies. That bit just kills me every time.
It's so depressing. It just makes me want to like, oh god. I just sit through the entire credits. I'm like, Jesus Christ. He's like, yeah, oh, I have an idea, and then it just says die. Like, oh god, that's just a really visceral reaction from me. I'm like, oh god. Like I feel like that's also kind of trying to say like we grasp for trying to do something meaningful and try to do something meaningful with our lives, and we just waste away doing it, and we don't experience the things that are actually important, or the things that would prove for a more fruitful life. And at the end of the day, I don't think anybody really knows how to make life mean anything. It's just how do you get the time that you have and make it like meaningful to you, or how do you enjoy the time that you have? And I really feel like it's incredibly sad because he doesn't enjoy the time that he has. He's very rarely happy.
Yeah, this is something that like I feel like Charlie Kaufman touches upon quite a lot. He like really understands the human condition, and I think he manages to tackle it better than any other screenwriter in any film. Like every single time he like tackles themes like this, like whether it be in like this or Anomalisa or Eternal Sunshine, I think he just does it so incredibly well. He just really understands what it's like to be human.
Yeah, people like talk weird, or like they say things that you wouldn't expect people to say in real life, but then like it's more realistic than like how we talk to each other in real life. In a way, it's like people hide things from each other, and they don't say what they really feel a lot, or they keep things in. You know, there's just like very strange dialogue in this movie. Like she's like, he meets Hazel again for the first time in years. She's like, oh yeah, I've got twins, Robert and Daniel and Alan. I'm like, what? It's not. Just like, yeah, weird shit like that. Or like it also incorporates like the time jumping as well. Or like Caden goes to what is it, like France or something, or Germany even, and he like goes to visit this woman that Adele was with, and like she took Olive as well, and like kind of mentored her, or like brought her up. She like tattooed her and like made her into this like prostitute in a way, like so she could like sell herself. And then Caden's just like, oh, she's a fucking 4-year-old, and she's like, no, she's almost 11 now. It's like, oh god. So we see like, and that's also a moment where I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, like the full weight of like the movie's like time jumps kind of presses down on you. It's like an oppression of sorts, where like you're just like, yeah, time can go that fast, and you like you blink and you miss it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the makeup work as him and all the other characters get older is really great. Like it's
fantastic.
Some of the most realistic old person makeup I think I've ever seen. Like it never looks like someone wearing makeup. It looks so like natural.
Yeah, like the hair and the wrinkles they can get on these people. I would like compare that to his latest film, I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in that where people have like old age makeup, but it's supposed to look like cartoony in a way, or like it's supposed to emulate that of like, you might see that in like a play. But with this, it's very realistic, and I think it does a really good job at communicating the time, or like how people have like lived their lives. If they've got like more wrinkles, like Caden's very like worn out at the end. He's like basically the only person left alive, and he just looks so like fragile, and just like, I don't really know what he wants in the end. Is the kind of thing. Like, he's just like this one dude, and like all his life he's trying to strive for this thing. It shows in his face how like he's let it all go, and he hasn't really cared for himself. He doesn't really care for the people around him. I don't really understand what his goals are by the end of it. And I guess that's why he kind of had to die.
Yeah. There's a lot of great technical aspects as well. I think the editing is incredible. Like, it's super subtle a lot of the time, but it's very meaningful, especially with how there's like constant time jumps like between scenes and stuff. But even like I love the way that the film begins and ends with a grey screen. Like, the opening shot like fades in from a grey screen, and the last shot fades into a green screen or grey screen. Kind of like represents how the end is built into the beginning, and I really love that about it.
Yeah, I love the ending as well. When it fades into that grey, if you wait just like right until the end, it fades from a grey into, well, it's like a white, and then it fades into a grey, and then it fades into like a blue, and then it fades into a black. That was kind of done in I'm Thinking of Ending Things as well, where it kind of fades out to blue.
Yeah,
I think I think what you said, the end is built into the beginning. It's kind of like a loop in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
I love the set design as well. It's not like something you might think about when like you look at a movie that's not like so flashy. I don't think this is like so flashy in terms of like its like depiction of like there's no harsh colors, there's no like loud like coloring or set design type of thing. It's more like I think of like the burning house, or like the hangar with the city in it. It looks amazing. Like when the world is ending inside the hangar, that looks crazy. Or like when it shows like, so he's got this venue for his play. He's basically created New York inside this hangar, and then like when you go further in, because it's a replica of New York, the hangar was in New York, so he's also got another hangar in there. And then when he's like all alone at the end, he sees like this blueprint for what the play was supposed to be, and it's like you just keep flipping the pages, and it's just more hangars inside of the hangar. That's great. Yeah. That's all great.
It's a really smartly written film. You can tell that there's like a clear attention to detail in a lot of stuff, like how Caden's last name Cotard is a reference to Cotard delusion, which is like a disorder in which a person believes that they're dead or do not exist or like are slowly dying. I think that really links into the character, and also the title is a play on like an actual like town in New York called Synecdoche, which is where a lot of the film's set. But also the concept of Synecdoche means that a part of something represents the whole. I think that also comes in a lot as well.
Yeah, definitely. I got the DVD of this, and on the cover it says Smash Hit Comedy of the Year.
Yeah.
Did they watch that film?
I guess it's I guess it's funny, but it's really bitterly sad as well. Especially like all the sex scenes are like just horrifically sad. There's nothing in there like usually when you like see a sex scene in a movie, it's like hide your parents, don't watch this with your parents. But it's like I don't even want to watch this. It's like it's just horrible to watch because he's always like sad and crying, and it's just this sad guy just having sex with these women.
Darcie, you've not said a lot about the film. Is there anything you want to add to it? Sorry to put you on the spot like this.
No,
please do.
I hadn't said a lot because I didn't want to just randomly jump in with my no knowledge of what is going on in this movie. But I did think it was really clever. Like, everything is so super, super detailed and thought out, and I just thought, okay, this film actually is really good, but I think I need to watch it a couple of times because I really don't understand it. I don't think it helped that I was just so tired. I couldn't focus on the film at all.
Yeah, this was my second time watching, and I still don't think I understand everything at all.
I'm not really looking to, well, I would like to understand it a bit, but I know that's not the whole point. The whole point is to get whatever you want out of the movie. But I feel like there are times where I agree with you and then I agree with Max. Like, I don't think that it's super obvious that everything is bleak and we're all gonna die and shit, because of course we are. But I feel like there are things to take away from it. Like, you are supposed to just go and live your life and not worry about everything in the world. But then you are also
I suppose it's
gonna
also
die.
like a reductive question to say, like, put you on the spot and be like, what do you think about this movie? What's the meaning you get behind this? It's like, it's almost not the point, you know? Tell us what you know.
Yeah. I mean, I knew you guys weren't going to know everything about it either, but it's really fascinating just watching you guys talk about it, because I feel like I'm on both sides of the coin here. I feel like there are things that Chris is saying that I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. And then there are things that Max is saying that I'm like, yeah, Chris is just super depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're agreeing as well. You know, we're not like having differing opinions.
Yeah, true. Yesterday I was watching some of Your Movie Sucks' breakdown. So far he's got 5 parts. They're like half an hour each. And I think he's only talked about like the first half an hour of the film so far, because it's like super, super in depth. And a lot of it he was like breaking down. I was like, yeah, I get that a lot. And then there was some bits where I was like, not too sure I got that out of it. But that's one of the things I love about it so much. Everyone gets a different thing out of the film. No one's like right or wrong. It's just whatever you get from it. And I feel like that's what Charlie Kaufman loves. That's why he never explains what happens in his films, because he doesn't want to ruin the conversation. He wants people to watch the films and tell him what they thought happened. And maybe he'll agree with that, maybe he'll disagree with that. But I think that's what he loves about writing.
For sure, that's how you make good art, though, isn't it? For something to start up a conversation, whether you think it's bullshit or whether you think it's the best thing ever made.
Yeah. Even Charlie Kaufman, he's watched Your Movie Sucks' series and he loves it. He thinks it's really insightful and interesting, like hearing his take on it.
Do you think maybe he thinks of it more than he thought of it?
Maybe.
Maybe you listen to this. Oh, these guys have got it. These guys understand. I like when he's like Adele's left, and like she's taking Olive with her, and like she or like he calls her, and she's like, "Oh, hello," and he's like, "It's Caden." She says, "Ellen," and then he like goes into like a fit. He like, has a fit on the bed. It's like on the phone. He's like quickly dialing. That's hilarious. That's so funny. It's like it's probably supposed to be funny, but it's also like really sad as well. They just started having this like panic attack or like something, I don't know, this seizure, and then like it's like 911, what's your emergency? He's like, I'm sick. It's like, ma'am?
I love that.
Yeah. That's like one of those bits that is really funny, but you also feel like you shouldn't be laughing at it.
A bit like when his daughter dies, and it was just so unintentionally hilarious. I think it was the whole having an affair with some gay man or something.
You're gay. Yeah. I can't forgive you until you say that you're a homosexual man who went off to have anal sex with your boyfriend. And then he like, has to say it. He's like crying as he says it, and then he's like, "Can you forgive me?" And she's like, "No."
That was possibly my favourite.
It is really funny, but it's really sad at the same time.
Yeah, like I don't know, was I supposed to find it funny?
Yeah, I think so. But that's what I was saying about how the film, like, there's so many scenes that are simultaneously really sad and really funny. I think Charlie Kaufman, like, he really knows how to balance tragedy with humour, and that's one of the things I love about the film.
It's also funny when like he sees like a Forbes magazine at like the hospital, which is like that doesn't even look like a hospital because it looks like decrepit and like dilapidated. There's people just like sat like slumped in chairs, or like the walls are dirty. And he just flips through this magazine, like she's on the cover, or she's within the magazine, and like a quote is like, "I'm at a point where I want to be around joyous, healthy people." And it's like, "Heyo, that's not you at all, man. You fucking you sick motherfucker. you're just here at home doing your shitty play that no one cares about."
Yeah. I feel like we've probably talked about this film enough. I think maybe we should wrap it up.
Yeah. We've got a lot more to say, honestly, but yeah, we've been going for a while.
Should have just done a whole episode on this one, really, shouldn't you?
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying earlier. I feel like
could.
we easily could do a whole episode on this and Ghost Story, because there's both of them are just very deep movies.
Sadly not. Unfortunately not. Gotta cut it short, I suppose.
What are we going to rate this one out of?
I don't know. I don't want to say anything like Synecdoche, because it's like, whatever. I don't know. Really have no idea.
Green poos.
Green poos. Let's do it. Sure.
All right.
Yeah, this is a masterpiece. I love Charlie Kaufman so much, but I still prefer Eternal Sunshine and Anomalisa, but this is like right up there for me. After rewatching it, this is like easily in my top 15 of all time. I just really love it. It's just a very powerful, emotionally resonant movie that I highly recommend, and I'm going to give it 10 green poos out of 10.
Nice. I like he's always forgetting like his other daughter's name. It's like,
Did they ever say what it was?
Yeah,
And
you only see it like
Ariel.
once.
Ariel,
Yeah.
see? I wouldn't have known that in my
Because he
whole
doesn't
life.
care about her. That's why you don't see her. She's like just the other one. He's like, oh, I miss Olive. And the other one.
Also another hilarious part of the film.
When he's like sobbing, yeah. Or like when he's like in that alley, like just sobbing over this like nose box. There's like he has to make himself
With the
cry because
tear.
he can't cry anymore. Again, really funny, but really fucking sad. Yeah, I love this movie. I had a 9 for so long, but this time I think like maybe as the older I get, I'm gonna enjoy this more. I'm gonna get more out of it because that's kind of what it's all about at the end of the day. I'm gonna give it a 10 green poos out of 10.
I definitely need to rewatch it, so I'm gonna start off at an 8 because if adaptation is similar, that film made more sense to me personally. But
yeah, I feel like Adaptation's like one of his more accessible films, along with Being John Malkovich. They're both like fairly accessible, even if they are very strange.
Yeah, definitely. It was one of the masters. Give all his movies a viewing. They all need it.
if you ever
He's
listen
like a
to this,
guy
I
who
hope he's not
struggles.
offended.
No, sure. I mean, he's a guy who struggles to get his movies made, I think, because like nobody wants to pick him up. But
Yeah, it's a
when he gets to
shame.
make them, they're great. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was really excited when he like made a film with Netflix. I thought, oh, finally people are gonna notice him.
Yeah.
And then Netflix put it out, put it on the front page, took it off the next day, and like hide it now.
What
Didn't
movie
put
was
it in their
that?
Oscar campaign.
Oh,
I'm thinking of ending things.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't put it in their Oscar campaign or anything, so it wasn't nominated for any award, even though I feel like it probably could have been nominated for most of them.
Yeah, too weird. Nobody knows Jesse Plemons. Nobody knows Jessie Buckley. Toni Collette they can overlook because she's in a lot of weird shit. David Thewlis is in a lot of weird shit. They can overlook him as well. Whatever. Sweep it to the wayside. What a shame. That was so good. So good. Now we come on to the next sad movie. In this trilogy of sad movies, we got my recommendation, 2017 movie directed by David Lowery, A Ghost Story, one of my all-time favourites. And A Ghost Story is about like a man dies in a car crash and returns as a ghost to the home he shares with his partner, and he kind of observes passively of this spectral sheet in the shape of a ghost. He wanders around the rooms of the house that he and his wife or girlfriend, I don't know what they were to each other, I think probably
I don't think they
husband and wife.
specified it.
No, they didn't really, but they share they're romantic with each other, is all we know. They share their life, and he's just wandering around this house and watching her as she kind of carries on with her life without him, trying to make some kind of connection with her. It's about a lot of things, really, but I kind of want to know what you guys think, especially Darcie.
Do you want to start?
I was waiting to see who would start. I really like this film.
Good.
I thought it was going to upset me more than it did because I was expecting it to be really depressing because I really wanted to watch it. Thank you for moving that microphone.
How did Chris oversell that? He said like last episode, it was like, oh, I'd say that was a pretty depressing movie. I'm like, I don't really get like so depressed from this movie. I think there's a lot of emotions, but I don't know if depression is one of them.
Yeah, I think Chris thinks very emotionally.
Morbidly.
Yeah, no, I think you just have a big attachment to movies, whereas I'm just sort of a take it or leave it kind of girl. But no, I actually thought the film was really good. Sometimes it was a little bit creepy, a little bit symbolic about, passing on and all that other kind of stuff, all the good things. Chris is just blankly staring, but no, I mean, everything was really pretty about the film as well. Like all the locations were really pretty. The house design was really pretty. Pretty much every shot was really pretty. Apart from, the scene where she's eating that chocolate pie, that was not pretty. And he's just standing in the corner as a ghost, and I'm like, where the fuck did he come from? Pointing at the screen going, Chris, where did he come from? And he's like, I don't know.
He can go where he likes, he's a ghost.
Yeah. This is my second time watching it. I think I watched it the first time last year because you lent it to me, Max, and I really loved it. And I was worried that this time around maybe it wouldn't resonate with me as deeply, or maybe I'd watch it and pick up more flaws, but I kind of had the exact same experience again. I really loved this movie. I think it's a very beautiful, powerful movie. Yeah, I don't think it's quite as depressing as I built it up to be. I remember finding it really emotional the first time around, and this time around I didn't quite as much. I found it a lot more beautiful and powerful in a different way. This is a very, very great movie.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a fantastic movie that I love so much. It's got like a 4:3 aspect ratio, and it's like curved at the corners. I've not seen a movie do that before, so I think it's very unique in that aspect. I think it uses like the frame.
Say it looks like a Polaroid picture almost.
It is very beautiful.
Yeah. And I think it uses that with like framing and blocking super well. Like the cinematography is fantastic. Like the warm tones of it that they can incorporate with like the sun or like lamps. I found that more when like people were together, or like when he's alone. It's more like cold tones that they were able to use. I really like that. Like the score, obviously. This is my favourite score for any movie. The music is fantastic by Daniel Hart. Just I got it on vinyl finally the other month, and he's able to incorporate a lot of like orchestral instrumentation. It carries with it like this kind of cosmic feel, but that feels kind of ethereal and like otherworldly. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, the score is beautiful. It's almost like dreamlike in a lot of ways. I think like you said, it's very ethereal. It does. The whole film, I feel like, is very eerie at points. There's like deep atmosphere throughout, and I think the music really complements that perfectly. A lot of it, I think, is very melancholic as well, which fits with the emotions. I think it's a great score.
There's like a lot of cosmic and horror elements to like the movie that I feel the score complements very well. And it's he's able to juggle different like kinds of instrumentation and music and have it all fit very well together. It's like mostly I think it's like orchestral, honestly. But then like he's able to incorporate like really weird and strange like singing and vocal melodies in different places. Or like, you might hear it like opera, or it just felt very heavenly.
Yeah, I think it fits very well with the visual style. Like you said, it's 4:3. I think every single shot looks like a painting. Like there's so much emotion in every shot. I think it's really powerful. I think there's like really great subtle set dressing. Like just everything in every shot looks incredibly meticulously panned. Especially in their like house, like just every room of that. It feels like they definitely put a lot of attention to detail in like every single thing that was inside the rooms. And I think it's really great. It's like a great subtle detail to it.
Yeah. they were able to like shoot different or like the same places like differently, and it would give off like a different kind of feeling for me. Like there's like the huge like door frame from like the kitchen to the living room, and like they're able to shoot that in different kind of ways, so it kind of feels jarring sometimes when you go back to it and you're like, that wasn't, where's he supposed to be now? But it's just like the same place.
You kind of get that feeling with the Spanish family move in, because everything just feels different when they're there.
Yeah, it's like the same house, but it's somehow different.
Yeah, you get like a lot of like warm tones in the color palette when they're there as well, because I think like I was saying, like when people are together, it's warmer, and maybe he like looks at them, and I guess it's like the you can take whatever you want from the movie because it doesn't really tell you how to feel apart from one scene. I think we'll get to that in a minute. But like you can just sort of like look at things and go like, he's feeling this in that kind of moment. You can kind of put yourself in his position because he's just this sheet. It's just Casey Affleck under a sheet. And I think like maybe when like the Spanish family's there, he's like looking at them and it's sort of like a longing mixed with like resentment in a way. Like he feels like he could have had that with his partner, but she moved away. So he like, or like obviously, I mean, he died, and now like they can't have that anymore. So like maybe he feels like sad for himself, or like I feel they're also like in his house. It's like, this is my house, and they're in here. He's like smashing plates, or like that was a great scene when he like smashes all those plates. He like tips the photo of them over. Or like when he's in the closet and the boy like points a gun at him. I don't know, like pointing a gun at me in my own house.
Yeah. I think there's an incredible use of lighting as well. There's multiple shots where like the lens will flare, or like you see like outside lighting like creeping into the build, like the house and stuff. And I think it looks really, really beautiful. I think a lot of it shot like using natural lighting. Like possibly that's what it looks like anyway, and I think it just looks incredible.
That is what it looks like to me. They get like every so often like this kind of shimmer will appear in different corners of the house.
Yeah,
it's like this kind of like rippling rainbow type of glow. That was supposed to mean something, I think. Maybe to do with like the afterlife, or like it's always here if you want to like leave. And there's like a part at the beginning. I kind of want to get you guys' thoughts on when like he comes out of the hospital and he's trying to walk away, or like he's walking just through the hospital, and like this kind of window opens up. I don't know what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, that was the symbolic part I was trying to get at, where I feel like it's almost like he's going to walk into the light, but he's got unfinished business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I get that from it as well. Or like maybe it's like a refusal. Like no words are spoken because he doesn't talk when he's a ghost. But like just from like the window closing, you feel like that indicates maybe that he said, no, I've got things to do.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of what a lot of the film's about, though. Like the reason why he's a ghost and still there is because he hasn't finished what he's there to do. And obviously that eventually happens when he reads the note that his partner left in the wall.
How unsatisfying was that? I really wanted to know what the note said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't find it unsatisfying. I find it very satisfying. I think like maybe I've shown this movie to a couple of people and they've all said, well, what did the note say? I'm like, it almost doesn't matter, like, right? Why do you want to know really so bad? Like, what? It could say like literally anything. It could say like McDonald's Happy Meal on it, and he's like, "That's it, I'm done." But like what's gonna be said on there? I don't think you could put anything on that piece of paper that would satisfy everyone, or that would like make them go, "Yeah, okay." Like, what could you possibly write?
Yeah, I feel like if they showed what was written down, it probably would have taken away from it. Like, I feel like if he writes something, it's just going to feel corny, or it's not going to satisfy someone. The fact that they leave it very open to your interpretation, like you can just imagine what it says on there. I think that's what makes it more powerful. Like, you're always going to be able to like imagine something that's more beautiful and profound than what the writer would be able to do themselves.
I guess for me, it's more a case of why was it the note that finally got him to leave? What was so great about this note? Or was it more of I'm supposed to take a sort of indication from that it was something more meaningful to him? I don't know.
Well, what more does he have? You know? She's gone. Maybe his initial goal was kind of to stay close to her, but I feel like he's kind of tethered to this house. He can't really go with her. And after she's gone, the only thing that's left of her is this note, and he has to get it, and he has to like go through the entire history of like time in like a loop. So he ends up back there again, so he can keep scratching at this wall and eventually get the note. And when he finds the note, it's like, what more there is there to discover that he needs to stay here for?
Yeah, supposedly David Lowery literally just told Rooney Mara to write something that she found like powerful, something that like meant a lot to her, like just a small like sentence or phrase or something that she loved.
Yeah, I like that. I don't think you need to say much with it, or like it speaks for itself in a way. Because you see what happens when like you stay too long. You see it with this other ghost that's kind of stayed in this other house too long.
The ones that were talking to each other.
Yeah, he's like saying that he's waiting for
someone. Yeah,
for someone. Yeah, and then he's like, "Well, who are you waiting for?" He's like, I don't remember." You see, maybe he's like that ghost has waited there for who knows how long. You just forget things, and maybe that could have happened to him, to Casey Affleck's character, if he just kept staying there. And then like the houses get knocked down when he's just like so like inches away from like getting this note, and then the house gets knocked down. That's like such a shocking moment. It's like, oh, for crying out loud, you were so close, and then just this house gets knocked down, and then this other ghost is just standing in the wreckage with him, and they're like, I don't think they're coming. So he just like fades away, because it's like, what else does this other ghost have to like be here for?
Yeah, I felt like that scene was kind of almost like a statement on how like small quaint places like that, like just like, small houses in the middle of nowhere, like with loads of greenery around them, is like being destroyed by like large commercial buildings and consumerism and shit like that.
Yeah. I think from that I more got like a sense of like impermanence, like nothing material lasts, and like what really drives the movie is like this sense of like longing or like love, like because it's really like a romance movie as well, as much as it is like this kind of cosmic like sci-fi horror movie in a way. Like it's very light on horror, but I feel like it's very big on like the emotional weight that it carries. There's a lot to do with like romance and love, and how it can like stand the test of time. Okay, I want to talk about this scene now. It pisses me off so much. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. There's a scene where he like this, like, who knows who moves into this house, but the party is going on in his house, and he walks through, and Kesha's there, and she's playing cards or whatever, and then like she's
this fucking scene.
I'm like, what the fuck? Why is Kesha in here? And then like she's not even like the focus of the scene. It just like brushes past her. I'm like, why does she even need to be there? And that's how I feel about this whole entire scene. And I think a lot of people feel this way about this scene, is it doesn't need to be there. It's just this fucking dude who's like, fucking hell. He's just
I think
sat
he's
here with a bunch of
credited as
people.
the prognosticator.
Is it just meant to be for people like me who are like, oh, I need this film dumbed down, so let's get this random guy in who basically just explains the movie and ruins
that's
it all.
what it feels like.
Yeah, why dumb it down? I know I'm not the smartest, but I don't really want it explained.
Yeah, no, exactly. I almost wish that there was like an alternate cut where everything is the same, but that scene isn't in it.
Yeah. It doesn't add anything to the film. It just brings everything to a halt and like haphazardly explains the purpose of the film. It just feels very unnecessary. That character has the longest piece of dialogue in like the entire film. Like his monologue apparently is more than double of any other amount of dialogue of any other character combined.
No one asked for it.
Yeah. No one cares. No one cares about this fucking guy in his fucking dungarees with bald head, mingling with a bunch of like 20-somethings in this party. I don't care for it. I don't care for the
Kesha
music that's
song.
being played either. He's explaining like fucking Beethoven or some shit, and then like he's like explaining like legacy and like how people are remembered after death. They want to be remembered after their death. I'm like, it also doesn't help that he's like such an asshole as well.
Yeah.
He's like telling people their kids are gonna die. He's like, your kids are gonna die. Your kids are gonna die. I think it just goes on too long. It's too long of a monologue. Honestly, it really upsets me that this fantastic movie is sullied by this one scene. I'm like, in reality, like, who would give this fucking guy the time of day? Just going off on a spiel about like life and like
you just drown him out,
eternity.
wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Just shut up.
I fucking
walk
hate
away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's honestly the only thing I don't like about this movie.
And good on you.
Yeah. Like, I know you were the same for a long time, Max. You didn't give it a perfect score, and that's kind of, like, spoiler alert. It's like the only reason I wouldn't give it a perfect score. It's just this one scene, which I just feel like really ruins that part of the film.
Yeah, it's such a shame. It's really such a shame. Because the rest of it is so fantastic. And I get so much from, like, interpretations that I'm able to give the movie. Like, why can't you just, like, trust your audience enough to have them get something out of the film? Maybe, like, they watch it once and they think, what the fuck was that? But then that's, like, the beauty of it. Like, you go back and you watch movies again and you get different things out of it. But if you're having this distrust in the audience, like, this movie is not for a general audience in the first place, surely. Like, it's like a passion project. It feels like a passion project that he wanted to tell. And, like, if you're just hammering this shit in there that no one, like, nobody cared for, like, why did you do it in the first place? Like, who's this movie for if you're just doing that? Is it for people who actually want to get something out of the experience, want to put their own, like, life situations into this movie and get something more out of it? Or is it for, like, a more general audience that fucking goes to see Avengers every year?
Yeah, like, it kind of ruins it for a second watch, because then you've got this preconceived idea of what the film should be about, and then you're going to go actively searching for, oh, this film's about legacy and being remembered and all this other shit. And I don't think films should really work like that. Like, as much as I love having a movie, you know, dumbed down for me, I don't actually want it to tell me what I should be thinking about a film.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like
when
I rewatch this film, I'll probably just skip over that scene, to be honest.
As you should. It's garbage. Absolute garbage.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a fan edit out there somewhere with it taken out.
Yeah,
it's quite long as well.
That's all I fucking want. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes or something. And it's a very short film, so it takes up a decent chunk of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's annoying too.
I mean, if they can edit Star Wars, they can edit this. So it should be right.
One of my favourite scenes in the film is when Rooney Mara, like her character, she just sits down and eats a pie.
No,
it's like 4 minutes of literally just her eating a pie, and like she's like tearing up while she's doing it, and then eventually like she runs to the bathroom to throw it up. I just feel like that scene's really powerful and really sad in a lot of ways.
Maybe that's why I didn't like it. I thought it was horrific, but it's probably because I thought it was so upsetting to watch. It's hard
to watch, but that's one of the things I like about it. I think it's very powerful.
You didn't like it, Darcie?
I think it was just upsetting. I don't think I hated it. It was just, you know, when you can't stop watching it. It's like a car crash. You're like, oh, how much more of that pie is she going to eat? You're just watching her do it. And you're like, just stop. Please just stop. But she doesn't stop. I mean, it was fascinating that anyone could eat that much in one sitting. But no, I wanted it to stop.
She did it a lot as well. She did it a lot. She ate so many pies for this fucking movie. She had never eaten a pie in her life before. David Lowery's like, eat this pie. She has to do it.
She was already sick of it.
Yeah, she must have been. She like never eaten a pie before, and in this one instance, she's like put off pie forever.
Yeah, she'll never eat them again.
She had to have like it was like reduced sugar, vegan, gluten-free chocolate pie.
That sounds fucking vile.
Yeah, David Lowery said apparently it was really nice, but she said it was absolutely terrible and it made her feel ill.
No wonder. She probably threw up for real as well.
That was a good scene. I like that scene a lot. I'm like transfixed by it. It's like a car crash. You can't stop watching. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But I love it so much. I love its inclusion in the movie. It's like a staple scene for this movie as well. Also,
you can't get rid of the scene.
No, absolutely not. Crucial scene. Rooney Mara eating pie. I love when like she leaves the house over and over again. It shows like her leaving the house and like this one uninterrupted shot that's like supposed to communicate like passage of time. Like she's just been leaving the house over and over again, and the ghost has just been standing watching her leave. And that's like, I was like, Jesus Christ, how did they do that? That was insane. It didn't cut at all. I didn't see the fan at the top there like, cut at all. But it's just they got in some doubles for Rooney Mara, and it's like so seamless. Like I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, that is very seamless. I would imagine they would have like used CGI or something to fuse the shots together, like a Birdman on 1917 sort of thing.
Yeah, fantastic stuff.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say about it. Don't know about you guys. I know, Max, you probably have loads and loads to say.
His eyes are wide. He's like, yes, I could speak forever.
So I've got an entire notebook full of notes for this film.
He's made a novel.
Yeah. Well, it's a deep movie, honestly.
It is.
And like despite the fact that it tells you exactly what the fuck it's about, like halfway through, like there's still so much you can take from the movie. I feel like that scene probably ruins it for a lot of people, but I don't see it ruining the movie for me. Like I can just kind of put it out of my mind as soon as it ends, and I can pick up where I left off before that scene interrupted it, and just put my own thoughts and feelings into it as well. I love the scene where like she comes home again, but like she's dating someone. She's like kissing this guy, and the music is like really just like deep bellowing sounds, and just like you can see like even though Casey Affleck's just under the sheet, you can see his anger boiling to the surface, and like the lights are flickering, and like he's like making the books fall off the shelf.
Yeah, it's crazy how they managed to convey his emotions despite the fact he's literally just a white sheet who barely moves, is completely like blank and emotionless. But I think it's like just possibly the music and like his movements really convey his emotions incredibly well.
Well, Chris, as a music man, I thought you of all people would know that is literally what music will do.
Yeah, of course. But
yeah, it's a lot to do with like the music. It's also to do with like just Casey Affleck standing there, but also like the camera angle, like how it's able to shoot him. He's like the camera will be like right like below him, and it'll like keep getting pushed further backwards, so like it feels like he's getting bigger, and you get like this like that's like a way to show like his anger as well. I just love it. I feel like you can see Casey Affleck inside the sheet a lot as well. Like sometimes like the light will just hit it in a certain way. You'll see his hand, or you see like the outline of his body. I'm like, there's Casey Affleck. It's just under the sheet.
Apparently he had to wear like a ring or something around his body, so it was like the right shape.
Let's wear like a petticoat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good though. Really like hesitate to like call it like costume design, but that's what it is, you know? It's just really well done costume design. I think like it starts with like this really clean white sheet that he's been like had his body covered with because he's in the morgue, and then he like rises out of the sheet. That was a great shot. It just stays there forever until he just rises out of it, and then like right at the end you see how much wear and tear it's gone like it's not even white anymore. It's just like grey and like rusted. You see how long he's been just pining away.
Yeah. Are we ready to jump into ratings?
No, I want to say so much more about this movie.
Of course you do.
But yeah, I mean we're pressed for time, so I think we can go to ratings. We'll do it out of pies, obviously.
Sure. Yeah, this is a really beautiful movie. I think it's incredibly well made. Like I said, the only thing bringing it down for me is that one party scene, which doesn't ruin the entire film for me. It just kind of brings it down a point for me. So I'm going to have to give it 9 pies out of 10. But I highly recommend checking it out to everyone.
I too was going to say 9 pies for exactly the same reason. I think visually it is everything I want in a movie, apart from a Wes Anderson movie. But yeah, I'll give it a 9 because that scene was poo-ola.
Nice.
Thank you again.
Very happy to hear that. I've had it for a 9. I've had it as a 9 for so long now, and I've watched it more times than I care to say. And I feel like that scene does still piss me off. It really does. I feel like if you just watched it, if I watched this movie so many times, I feel like I've earned the right to give it a 10 out of 10 now. If I can like kind of put that out of my mind a little bit and just like objectively, if I were going to give it an objective score, maybe it would be something different. But I can't give it an objective score. It's one of my favorite movies, and I mean when you talk about film, you talk subjectively. So I'm going to give it a 10. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I feel like you would have to give it a 10.
There's loads of films I've rated at 10s that I like agree that there's issues with it, but I personally, they don't bother me at all.
Yeah. I also like that it's just like David Lowery's kind of passion project. He made that movie, that terrible, shitty Disney movie, Pete's Dragon.
Yeah.
And like as terrible as that was, it afforded him the equipment to make this movie as well. So it's like, you make one for them and you make one for you, and it's I think he made something pretty incredible from it. I would love to see. I'm really excited for his new movie that's coming out. Obviously it's been delayed, but it's The Green Knight. It's like this medieval like knight movie starring Dev Patel. That's going to be awesome. Hopefully,
yeah, that should be interesting.
Apparently, like Guillermo del Toro said that this was his favorite movie of 2017. Said it was like a masterpiece.
Ew,
one of the best cinematic ghost stories ever made. So if you're getting praise from Guillermo del Toro, you know you're doing something right.
Yeah. He is one of the masters himself.
He is indeed. He's made some stinkers, but he's made some great stuff as well.
Indeed. Anyway, on to our guest's movie. Do you want to introduce it, Darcie?
I would, but I don't actually know who directed it, so I was hoping that you would fill me in, and then I'll go from there.
Bing Lee, something like that. I've got his surname written down, but I remember it as Bing. His first name, I think.
His first name is definitely Bing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Bing Liu.
Bing Liu.
Right. Sweet Bing. Once again, I didn't pick this movie. It came on a generated wheel. I actually originally picked David Byrne's Utopia, but Chris wouldn't let me have it.
Yeah, because it's not on any streaming services.
So I found Minding the Gap instead. A film about, is it 3 or 4? 4, isn't it? 3. Yeah. 3 people in, is it Rockford? Yeah. And about their lives. It's essentially a documentary, but I didn't know that until Chris told me it was a documentary. But this was before we watched it, obviously. And I am honoured, by the way, guys, to have the first documentary. Boo the both of you.
Yeah.
I win. Do you know what? This film actually hit me the hardest, but I think it was because it was a real life documentary.
Yeah. For me, I think this is the most relatable out of all 3 of them, because it's like a film basically about people around about our age struggling with the issues that people our age struggle with.
Yeah, like the actual issues of growing up and pining to be young again, which is awful considering we're only in our mid-20s, but I feel it so accurately.
Yeah. So I watched this documentary, and I go on BBC iPlayer, and it's like Minding the Gap, a story about skateboarding or something. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. Nice little documentary about skateboarding. I like seeing good skateboarding being filmed, like if it's filmed really well. And guess what? It's not really about skateboarding at all. It's about
No.
It's just like this terrible, like just like how like abuse can affect people, and like how these people were abused as children, and how like he like the director, he's like grown up and he's seen like his friends have been abused as children, and like how he sees his friends as like maybe was it Zach? Maybe he could turn into like what they've always loathed, and yet they're still friends with him. And I think it's like it's a lot about growing up, and it's a lot about figuring things out and finding solace in your friends, and also skateboarding. This is obviously a big part of it, but I think most of it is to do with like it's like bamboozlement in a way that just kind of bamboozled me. Where it's also about like just like really harsh and deep topics, but I think it's so much the better for it.
Yeah, it's just like The Prince and the Surfer, where we thought it was going to be a film about a surfer and he doesn't surf once.
Yeah, it's exactly like that movie.
I feel like it wanted to lure me in with the idea of, we can watch these teens skateboarding, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, I can't skateboard. I want to watch people do it really well. And yeah, I got to see people do it really well, but then I was also hit with, the actual lives that they have to live, and that's that guy. He's got very many issues, and I want to almost go as far as say he's a piece of shit, but at the same time, I feel quite bad for him. I feel like he's not come from where Bing is like so understanding and he wants to move on from things. I feel like Zach is unable to do so, and I think some people would really resonate with the idea of struggling to cope with how they are as a person.
Yeah, he's definitely struggling to cope with it all. Like, there's a great bit towards the end where they talk about how Zach's like got loads of different faces, like he is a different person to every single like person he's around. Mm-hmm. And then it seems like they're sat on the beach and he's like talking about how he's struggling to cope with the fact he thinks he's a piece of shit, and that he's worried that his son's gonna be affected by that and grow up the same way as he is, and that's why he's like abusing alcohol and stuff so much and not facing his responsibilities. And it seems like that's the point where you like finally like opens up to people for the first time and like shows who he actually is and how he actually feels. But he's a very troubled person. Mm-hmm. You can tell that all throughout. There's something not quite right about him from the opening of the film, and I think the director does a great job of slowly revealing that as the film progresses.
Yeah, I mean, it's just people at the end of the day. People are complicated. And it's hard for me to say, like, judge these kids and judge, like, the people that they become, because they're real people. I don't want to shit on them, you know? But when I see, like, Zach is in, like, this abusive relationship, or, like, when... like he's talking like at the end, he's like, oh, you can't beat up women, but sometimes they need to be slapped. I'm like, dude, why the like,
yeah, it's complicated, isn't it? Like, you don't want to hate on them, because yeah, they are people and we all relate to things that they say, but to sort of out yourself on camera about like slapping up a woman is a little bit like it's almost as if he says these things and he thinks they're going to be without consequences. Like, this is a movie that is out there in the world. Like, people are going to have an opinion on things like
it's that. But it's also like you're saying this to your friend, your good friend,
who's been abused.
You already know he's been abused, and it's like, well, now your friend's just thinking you could grow up to be the kind of guy that I fucking hated when I was younger, the kind of person who like beat my mother and my brother as well. There's just like a lot to do with abuse. There's like he interviews his half brother who said like, oh yeah, my dad was like this horrible guy. He came into my room. I don't know, like there was more like abuse than there was not abuse. Like, I don't know if a day went past when he wouldn't come into my room and say some shit about me. Like, one time he came into my room and he was like, you look terrible, so he like forcibly cut my hair. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ. It's just so like it gets so deep with its messaging, I think.
Yeah, I feel like his friend's quite understanding, because if I was abused and I had a friend like him, I don't know if I could be friends with him, but purely from a standpoint of I can't watch you become a person that can do that.
Yeah. He's also like had like a kid as well, and he's like run away from his child and the mother of his child.
So many questionable qualities, but at the same time, I guess it's one of those things where he knows that he's doing it, but he also doesn't know how to face the idea of, oh, I'm going to fuck up my son by being fucked up, so I'm going to get fucked up.
Yeah, and it's a shame as well, because like, as the film starts, he seems like a really like good dad in a way. He's like he's very caring. He's like taking his son around like to skateboard parks, like letting him into his life, putting him before anyone else. And then as the film progresses, it seems like his problems spiral more and more out of control, and for him, he doesn't want to be around his son because he knows that if he's going to stay around, he's just going to get more fucked up and his son's going to suffer because of it.
That's where it becomes complicated.
I feel it's that, but I feel it's also like what are they in, like their early 20s or something? I don't feel like people have kids in their early 20s. Like most of the time, if you do that, like I don't want to make generalizations as the thing, but I feel like mostly the case is like you don't decide to have a kid when you're in your like early 20s because you're not like fully developed yet, and you're not you've got like more to learn about life and like to start a family. Like I'm in my early 20s and I'm just like, if I thought about having a kid right now, I just don't think that I could do it. You know, I've got so much more to do, and I think that it's like about him, not like maybe he thinks that he would fuck the kid up, but it's also just like running away from that situation.
Yeah, it's almost it's a classic scenario of kids having kids when they don't know what they want to do with their life or what they can do, but you kind of can't run away from your own responsibilities. Like if you've had a kid, just because he even said it to that to his ex, didn't he? About like you want to go out partying every night, but you've had a kid, it's too late. And he's like really aware of it, but he's also like, oh no, I'm gonna move to Denver with this random woman, and I'm not coming back.
He gets a tattoo of her name at one point,
and they've been together like a week or something. It was ridiculous.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Yeah, like Jesus
it was
Christ.
awfully done.
I don't want to. Yeah. Very conflicting.
Yeah.
I do like I like the documentary filmmaking of it all. I thought it was very competently made. It was really impressive to see like how he interviewed people and like the equipment he had. It was very interesting to see how he like filmed them skateboarding, because I always love like seeing like good skateboarding shown on film. I think he filmed
it was
it
really
well.
nicely done.
Yeah, as the film progresses, like it feels less like obviously as it starts, it's shot like a documentary, like as it would, but as the film progresses, it feels like he like invites you more behind the scenes a little bit. Like you got the scene where he's like interviewing his mum, and like there's like it cuts back and forth between the actual camera on his mum and then another bonus camera like focused on him. Behind all the lights and everything, and obviously like you said, Max, them showing how they actually filmed all the skateboarding stuff. I thought that stuff was really, really good. The film just it feels very intimate. Like I think they do a great job of really sucking you in and making you feel like you're part of this friendship group, and that you're like having like serious deep conversations with these people, and it's easy to like see yourself in the film, especially with a lot of the conversations that they're having.
Yeah, it's also easy to criticize when you're just watching it as like a passive viewer. You're not really in with these people, but I think he does a good job at like you sympathize with these people. I want to call them characters. They're not characters. I mean, they're real people. So like you get an actual intimate look into their lives. You know, I love the interview with his mother. He's like interviewing her about like marrying someone who beat him and her when he was a kid, and I think it's also about learning that when you grow up, when you're a kid, you kind of feel like your parents are like authority figures and they have the world together. They understand exactly what's going on. But then you get older and you realize that everyone's just as lost as like the next person. Like she was very like vulnerable, and like she has this like line where she says when he's interviewing her, I don't want to be alone. And like you see like she's just so lonely, and like if maybe she didn't make the best decisions when like he was younger, you know. We also get like a lot to do with Kier. Is that his name?
Yeah, and his
Kier,
Kier and his dad, and that sort of story arc as well. That
He's
was really, really sad.
I didn't expect it to go that direction. He's just like this black kid who's like talking about like how he was raised, and you get like this perspective from like Rockford, which is like rife with like domestic abuse. You see how he was raised, like his dad beat him. He also talked about, am I getting this right, or did I see it in something else where he says like, I didn't realize why my dad would always talk about being black.
Yeah, no, he said that to his friends at a party or something.
Yeah. I didn't understand why my dad always talked about like being black and like being proud to be black, and as I've grown up, I kind of understand that a bit more. I felt that was like really powerful, especially as he was like the only like black person in this friendship group. I got a lot from like him as a person. I thought he was like a very genuine guy.
Yeah, definitely. There's a bit towards the end where he goes to his dad's grave, and he's like, he spends ages trying to find it, and he eventually finds it and just breaks down.
That was so heartbreaking, especially when he's like running around going, I need to find it, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I've seen this film twice, and I think the first time I watched it, that brought me to tears. And then there's like a scene like after that where he's like, my dad was a bit of a piece of shit and he abused me, but I love him to death. And I got a lot out of that. I thought that was quite a powerful moment.
It's more to do with like the complexities of people, you know?
Yeah, you can't help who you love, innit?
No one's completely good. No one's completely bad. Maybe you do get dickheads every now and again, but it doesn't mean that like they're not villains, you know. You can't vilify people in the same way that you can vilify like movie characters, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of what the film's going for. I feel like they're kind of growing to accept that, and that's why they're still friends with Zach, despite the fact they're seeing him possibly go down the path that like the people that abused them went down. I think the film does a great job of tackling all the issues that a lot of people just generally have, especially around our age, like learning to accept past abuse, like having drug and alcohol abuse. There's like a couple bits where they discuss like toxic masculinity in a way. Obviously they're like
the margaritas are gay.
Yeah.
My favourite line.
There's a bit where they like talk about how they're basically living in poverty because they're in this like the shitty town where everything's like just garbage and everyone wants to break out of there, and like one of the characters like struggling to find a job, and there's also bits with like racial prejudice and stereotypes throughout as well. I think they do a great job of presenting these many prevalent issues that young people face without it ever feeling bloated or ever feeling unfocused or forced. It's incredibly well done, I think.
Yeah, there's like that part where they're all like in a backyard or something, and they're showing, the white kids are showing each other like a video with this, like, we don't see the video, but the audio is just like saying the N-word over and over again, and you just like cuts to like Kier, and he looks so uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, there's a few bits like that. Like Zach says it very early on, and he like gets called out for it, and then they just move on, pretend it didn't happen.
That must be quite deflating though, like to always be that sort of person that would be like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't do that. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. When you're alone like that, like, sure, he's got his friends, but he's the only, like, black person in that friendship group. So I guess it probably is quite tiring for him. Like, I wouldn't want to be around that.
Yeah, because they don't really talk about Bing's experience either, because he's obviously of Asian descent. But they don't really speak about if anything like that goes down with him. It's just with Kier.
Yeah. There's not really a lot to do with like Asian prejudice, I would say, as much as there is with black prejudice. And maybe that's like a sign of like that town that they live in, perhaps. Maybe it's just a bit more like it's not as common, I guess.
Yeah, because he does seem to basically be like the only black character. Like him and his family seem to be like the only black characters you really see throughout.
There's like a great interview where he's got Kier on a chair or something. He's like, "Oh, I got disciplined." Oh, well, they call it child abuse now. Yeah,
that's like the first time in the film they like mention abuse. Remember the first time I watched it, I thought it was literally just a film about skateboarding. And when they like said
did
that, I was
everyone.
like, whoa, okay. It's like, it's a great way to subvert your expectations. Because like before that, the film's like just loads of scenes of people partying and being free and like having fun, skateboarding and stuff. And then they just throw this massive curveball at you, and the film gets more and more deep, more and more personal and intimate and more emotional as well. And I think it's just a great progression throughout.
I think that's kind of how it's like with normal people that you meet. So like you don't get to really know anyone until time passes, and I feel like that's a good way of portraying these people is like, oh, on the surface of it they're all partying and having a great time and you want to live like that, but they've been through some shit and you probably have too. You can relate to them.
Yeah, of course. When you first meet them as they would like present themselves to new people, but as you get to know them more and more, you realise just how fucked up they are and just how deep a lot of the issues they've got going on. I think it's great. You really feel like you know these people by the end of the film.
Yeah. Throws you for a curveball. You're like, oh, we're in for like an emotional roller coaster here. All right, didn't prepare for that. Just thought it was a good-natured story about skateboarding.
Yeah, I definitely didn't prepare for what was happening because Chris was like, oh, it's going to be really sad. And I thought, surely not. It's about skateboarding. It's going to be all right. It was not all right.
I like when that guy's on the roof, like at the 4th of July, he's trying to watch the fireworks. He's like, how are we going to get you down from that roof, Kyle? And he's like, a ladder. And they say, we don't have a ladder, Kyle.
I relate to him.
Yeah, and then he shouts like it's the President's Day or something.
And
or
he
like
goes,
the
I'm going to
President's
watch the
birthday.
fireworks.
It's America's birthday. Yeah. That's great. Showing like the kind of freedom of youth, I think. They get lost in that as well. There's a lot when someone says, when you're a kid, you just do what you want. You act. And somewhere along the line, everyone loses that. So I think it's also this expression of like youth and you losing parts of yourself as you grow up. I think that's very relatable too.
Very. Also quite a depressing way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a sad movie, but at the same time I feel like it's kind of motivational in a way, especially like right at the end. Like it ends on a fairly positive note. Like they showed these guys are fucked up. Like maybe their life isn't heading the way they wish it was going, but they're human and they'll probably pick themselves back up and get better. There's a great usage over the credits of the song This Year by the Mountain Goats, which is one of my favourite songs, and I think it just really sums up the themes of the film really, really well, like how they're in a rough patch of their life, but they're going to make it through it and hopefully get better, and if not, that's just part of life, really.
I did like that end sequence because I'm always one of those people that likes to see an update, likes to like hear the positive news, and I was just like, yeah, he's done this, yeah, they've done that, yeah, go them. Like I think it's just because obviously with the bad comes the good, and I feel like when you're on a good one, I don't know, I like to see the how these people get on, but
yeah, I like seeing that Zach's dog Cheese is now with his aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
I think that was the best update of them all, actually. Good old Cheese.
I didn't even know who his dog was, but I was happy to hear it.
Did they even mention Cheese in that whole
like,
movie?
what?
He shows up like twice.
I was like, hi, Cheese. Brilliant.
Who's Cheese? Yeah.
That's what I said. I looked at him and who's that?
I think we mentioned it before, but I do love like how they show masculinity. It's not toxic. It's very positive in a way, because they're just like kids, and then you show them growing up, and maybe like Zach primarily is like sliding into this maybe more toxic area of it, but like the other guys are just growing up and being their authentic, genuine selves. I found that to be a very positive way to like look at like men who are growing up, especially in like nowadays. I think
I feel like that'd be quite important. I mean, obviously, as a woman, I can't truly relate to it, but I mean, I think it's a good message for guys to see that you don't have to be, you know, what was it? That guy, Zach was shotgunning that beer, and I was like, that looks absolutely ridiculous. I just don't think people need to, live by those sort of stereotypes anymore. It's so outdated.
It's just having fun with the bros.
Yeah, like they got a nice strong bond. I thought it was quite sweet actually, despite how fucked up they all are.
Yeah. You could film this in a way that doesn't portray the friendship correctly. There's always that risk when you film it like actual real life. You could frame it in the kind of way that maybe you didn't want to get across, but I feel like I think he got exactly what he was going for.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Do we want to get into ratings?
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
Should we rate it out of skateboards?
Woo!
Absolutely. Let's do it.
This is a really, really great documentary. I think this might actually be my favourite documentary now after watching it a second time around. I rarely watch documentaries more than once because I find like the second time I watch it, like what it was going for doesn't really resonate as deeply, and I don't find it as quite as interesting because I feel like I've got all the information and stuff out of it. But this documentary I enjoyed even more the second time around. I just think it's a very well-constructed, well-edited and well-filmed documentary. And it's very interesting as well. I'm going to give it 10 skateboards out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I loved it too. I wasn't expecting to love it so much. It's just kind of naked documentary movie about skateboards, but it's about something. It's a lot more than that, and I think it was incredibly well filmed, incredibly well directed. Just everything about it, I really, really enjoyed. And it's very short as well, so it's not really a big time commitment. I would probably give it a 9 skateboards out of 10. I would say.
Nice.
Probably give it a 9. Really enjoyed it.
Cool. I'm gonna give it a 9.5. I've never been so glad for the wheel to pick to pick a recommendation.
Yeah.
Because I do struggle to sit through these things, but this one got me good.
Yeah, it was a great documentary that I would highly recommend. It's on BBC iPlayer, so you can watch it for free.
You can watch it over and over again.
More eyes on this one.
Next episode.
Lovely.
Ooh.
We got recommendations.
Yeah. So our guest next week is Kai yet again. We had to get him to fill in at the last second, but luckily he very quickly picked the film and said he was happy to do it. His film is from a director I've actually want to get into. I've not seen any of her films. It's the 2006 film called Red Road, directed by Andrea Arnold.
Never heard of it.
No, me neither, but
I'm just reading the synopsis right now, so
sounds interesting. I think that film and also my film's on BFI Player, so you can use my account again.
Cool.
Yeah. So throughout the week, Max was talking about 3.5 hour long films. And that got me thinking about some, because I like long films because you get to spend a long time with a group of characters. And I thought about one that I've been putting off for years. It's a pretty famous movie that I've been putting off for years just because of how long it is. But I thought, you know what? Let's do it. Let's watch it. And I don't think you've watched it yet, Max, so it should be interesting. My pick is the film Seven Samurai, directed by Akira Kurosawa.
Oh. Damn.
Here's where Max goes, I also chose the Samurai.
No, I didn't. That was on my list to recommend though. Damn you. Brilliant. Can't wait for that. I've been meaning to watch that too for a very long time. My recommendation is significantly shorter. It is a movie that I've never seen before, but I've heard good things about. It's on Now TV in the UK, and it is the 1998 animated film directed by Simon Wells, Steve Hickner, and Brenda Chapman, and it is called The Prince of Egypt.
What a great movie.
Classic DreamWorks movie.
It is fantastic.
I've not seen it since I was a kid, and I wasn't really a fan of it then, so hopefully I like it now.
Oh, you're a lie.
Hope so. Hope we can get something out of it. Hope we can get a good discussion out of it. So, yeah, watch those movies for the next episode. And for, God, what are we on now? Episode 29? So we got 6 weeks to go until episode 35, where we're going to watch Westworld Season 1. So check that out. Being on the discussion. We've got our social media accounts. We've got YouTube, The Sunday Movie Marathon. We've got Twitter, @Sunday Movie Pod. Facebook, @Sunday Movie Marathon. And Letterboxd, @Sunday MM. Thank you so much for listening this week. And thank you very much, Darcie, for being on this episode. It was a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you. Maybe I'll come again.
Wonderful.
Goodbye.
Bye.
See you later.
Baba Booey.